Which scratch remover really does work better? This is the question that I want to help you answer today. And here is the white Volkswagen Passat 2020. What I've done is I've introduced 1000 grit, verify here, P1000. P stands for P grit, which is a video for another time. Here shows the marks, and the reason they're white, it's not because this is white paint. This has clear coat, very hard clear coat. And I'm gonna give a big thumbs up to Volkswagen because their fit and finish, their paint work is superior. It is high level paint work. And what I mean by that is fit and finish as per body lines and the way body panels come together, the gap, how precise is it? Also, their paint has very little orange peel effect, but they have incredibly hard clear coat on this car. So this is to verify that I have, in fact, introduced, and here we see this big haze right here. These are the 1000 grit sanding marks. What I want to do is I want to experiment and do my little semi-review on these 3 products because, and I'm going to link this to my other video, which is my like 22-minute rant that has to do with who's at greater fault when it comes to disappointment and using products like this. Not a single product, and I reviewed others on Amazon, talked about hard clear coat versus soft clear coat. So I'm shooting some other videos on this car and I'm coming to the conclusion pretty immediately based on decades of experience that this clear coat is very, very hard. So I know all kinds of disappointment. If you happen to have the fortune, I use that term loosely, of having a car with exceptionally hard clear coat, as a beginner, first off, you're not going to know the difference because you have nothing really to compare to. You're just going to bounce on Amazon, pick out the best scratch remover, buy it, wait for it, show up. You go out to your garage, you follow the directions, perhaps, which I'm willing to bet 50% of the world won't even read the directions. They'll just default to whatever they have seen. And they're going to grab a rag and they're going to start rubbing and they're like, whoa, nothing's happening. The scratches aren't disappearing. Which then leads me to ask, okay, who is at fault here? Is it the manufacturers because they embellish, misrepresent, hype up their packaging? Or is it the consumer that defaults to the route of least resistance, the instant gratification mentality, and it's like, oh, I've got a car, I found some scratches and I want those scratches gone, but I'm a cheap ass and I really don't want to educate myself, I just want them gone. There's got to be a solution for it, right? Okay, so I will just go on record and say this is my pick. Despite how much I've trashed this company, and really it's not the company, it's their packaging that I've trashed. And by the way, I went to their big event back in like 2000, I don't know, 18, whatever it was, in Arizona, and talk about a group of like solid people. Like I was impressed at every level of the event. It was just outside of Scottsdale. I think it was called Paradise Valley. But my word, they nailed the details. And they have seen my videos, so they know that I have trashed their marketing. And they talked to me about that, which clearly made no difference whatsoever. So here I have my microfiber cloth. So just as a heads up, the reason I'm defaulting to this method is because I'm speaking from experience. I know that if I default to a traditional foam applicator pad, let's just call this a foam applicator pad. It really is. It's got foam in the middle. It's got microfiber on the one side, a nylon mesh on the other. I know because this, see how this gives? I know that working on hard clear coat, this will be a much less effective and rather discouraging, disappointing way as compared to this microfiber that I can apply more pressure, more direct pressure to. So I've applied the Scratch Doctor here, hence the white stuff, the white jizz on this. So here's the scratches. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna segregate this so I can go 1, 2, 3. So this is our scratch doctor, and I'm going to rub. So if you saw my other video, one of my complaints was, well, two sides. One, the manufacturer and their lack of educating you as a consumer, a car owner. And then the other side of the equation, which is the actual car owner, the purchaser, the consumer of this product, which is, for example, this. Like, not all scratches are created equal. So when the directions say use light back and forth pressure or moderate pressure, what does that even mean? Once again, not a single one of them bother to educate you on the fact that there is such a thing as very hard clear coats. I can love to see how many people would be disappointed when they go out and they try to remove these superficial, these surface scratches, which that's a term I take issue with. I mean, really, wouldn't all scratches originate at the surface level as far as scratches that you could remove? So I'm rubbing rather aggressively, and let's just see. I'm hoping it shows up, but that barely made a dent to the scratches. It shined it up a little bit more compared to this, so you can see a little bit of shine here. But as far as actual scratch removal goes, big fail, okay? Tons of scratches still left. But wait, there's more. So what I will do is I will go in for a repeat application. And I am going to really lay into this with, well, pretty much everything I've got. I've been called a lot of things, but being particularly weak as in strength. I don't mean in body odor, because being strong isn't everything. So being weak as in strength. I've never really been accused of being particularly weak. So I'm laying into this with a single finger, which if you're an expert, that, actually, I take that back. If you're a keyboard jockey, you would say, oh, that's a no-no. You can't just polish with a finger because that is going to leave an uneven pattern in the paint. Well, I agree with that, but how else am I going to apply this much pressure if I think I'm going to have any desirable results using it by hand, which is what most people will default to? They're not going to want to buy a buffer and improve their success rate. They just want to do it by hand. So let me wipe this off. Let's come back in. Still some shine going on, but you can clearly see, yes, pun intended. So here's the line of demarcation. We go from non-scratched up paint, not perfect, but it ain't that. It ain't that. So here you can see where the light begins to haze out because there's still tons of scratches here. So that's 2 attempts, very aggressive attempts. And I'm gonna leave the best for last, in my opinion, and I'm gonna show you why. So here we have Meguiar ScratchX, which got plenty of good reviews. Like I said, actually in my first video is where I said it. I'm gonna section this off. Is I said that every one of these products got at least a 4 out of 5 star rating, which is pretty darn good. So here I have my microfiber cloth. I'm going to pick a different section, apply some ScratchX, and yes, I did shake each one of these products prior to the video. That was actually a little much for this little area, but so I am going to first use moderate pressure because 2 of these products, I don't remember which ones, one of them says use light pressure back and forth. I believe Scratch Doctor said moderate pressure. So I'm using what I would consider moderate pressure. Of course, this is me, a guy that has spent my share of time in the gym. So moderate pressure to me, also based on decades of experience, is going to be different than moderate pressure to the next person. So let's take a look, see what happened. Well, pretty much almost nothing. Like I would call that a serious fail, but would I really? Because I don't have unrealistic expectations. I know the limitations of these products right out of the gate because they are marketed to the retail audience. So they automatically have to be dumbed down. So here I am applying more ScratchX. Now, like I did over here, I'm going to sit here with a single finger. I'm going to finger this paint very aggressively with really pretty much as much pressure as my little digit can withstand without like pulling a ligament in my finger. And I guarantee you, if I did this in front of 99% of car owners that have no experience, they'd be in freak out mode. It's like, oh my gosh, Darren, you're going to destroy that clear coat. That is way too much pressure. Well, that's because they don't know. They are speaking from little to no experience. Okay, so let's have another look. Okay, perhaps a little more improvement. So you tell me, this is the area that remains untouched. This is ScratchX. This is Scratch Doctor. Now, let's go in for Turtle Wax, Scratch and Renew with their Heal and Seal technology. But let me tape off this area so that we still have a little bit of skid marks over here to the right. So you can see me apply the turtle wax, and you can tell I've used it quite a few times because it's a big fat mess. So here we go. And once again, I'm going to apply what I consider moderate pressure going back and forth. Now, just to verify, turtle wax says, okay, use gentle back and forth pressure for 30 seconds. Okay, so in defense of turtle wax, because they were a little more deliberate in their directions, I will go back and forth. And as per their directions, gentle back and forth pressure for 30 seconds. 1 1000, 2 1000, and I'll speed this up for you so you don't have to endure the 30 seconds. Okay, there's our 30 seconds, wipe, and just so you know, because you're not here in person and I'm not rubbing on your body part, so there's no way that you would be able to discern how much pressure Darren is actually using in this moment. So let's just check the results. Okay. Well, most people would call this a complete fail. Did it produce a little bit of shine? Unfortunately, I don't have many skid marks going over here. So yes, but are the scratches completely gone? Not even close, bud. Yes, that was an obscure reference to a very popular 80s movie, one of my favorite. Breakfast Club. Okay, so another application of Scratch Repair and Renew by Turtle Wax, because now what I'm gonna go in is hot. I'm gonna go in heavy-handed and show you, and I'm using one finger, once again, as much pressure as I can apply without like tearing a ligament in my finger, and we'll see if we can see some discernible differences. So you tell me. I'm gonna scan left, scan right. Honestly, based on what my eye is picking up, most people would still consider this a fail, which you may ask, well, why, Darren, did you rate the Turtle Wax #1? Well, because if I remove this tape, and I don't have to work within the constraints, and I can rub more and more, that when I use all three products, Turtle Wax product was the only one that was truly able to produce some what I would call acceptable results. So you can see the 3 grid patterns there. So I will show you now that I've got some better working room. And what I'll do is I will bisect this right here. And I'm going to take the Turtle Wax so you can see a fresh area of my microfiber. And what I'm going to do is really lay into this to the point where I'm using not just my finger, but my whole fist. Boy, I can make a really crude comment right about now about fists, but I won't. And I'm like literally, I'm hoping that it's showing that the panel of this hood is literally warping. Okay, but it's still, boy, I'm kind of out of breath. You think I never went to the gym. So this kind of illustrates a few points. One, I was still not able to remove the scratches, which, in case you have not asked, Darren, why did you default to 1,000 grit sanding marks? That is because of one of the bold claims made by Turtle Wax. It says right at the top, light to heavy scratches up to 1,000 grit. Now, what they fail to tell you is that I promise you I could remove those if I had the right buffer with the right pad. Machine polisher, not by hand. In order to do this by hand, I would have to come in with another, my word, you think I never worked out before. I would have to come in with a buffer. In fact, let's just play along for a moment. My wife is waiting to leave to go. Got my rotary polisher, CSI blue pad. I'm gonna dial this up to 1600 RPMs because this is hard clear coat. I'm going to apply the ceramics, which is made with non-diminishing abrasives. And because I know I'm going to automatically add some prophylactic so that I can retain the damaged areas intact. And I'm really doing this in a very haphazardly way. If I was working professionally, I would be a little more precise in this. But I really want to isolate these scratches. And this is not, this is not me going into the commercial mode again about ceramics, but I'm just going to show you what it would take to remove 1,000 grit sanding marks, which in any professional world, if they're going to do color sanding, wet sanding, they're not going to stop at 1,000 grit. They're going to go up to 2,000 grit at a minimum, maybe 3,000 grit, even finer. I infuse the product into the pad. Let's get a clean part of the pad, my microfiber out, and we will see. Woo, look at that shine. But guess what? Right next to the tape, I'll see if I can pick it up, the scratches are not completely removed. Now part of that is because I'm kind of focused on this, and I did not go up on an edge enough to really dig those scratches out right next to the tape, because there literally is a line there. So a high point that prevents me from getting right next to that line. But that's some pretty cool shine. But I can see, and I don't know if it's going to pick up, but what you're seeing, if you are, is what we call cornrows in the industry, which is why I don't stop at 1,000 grit, because in the act of removing every last cornrow of sanding marks, so what you're observing, if it's picking up, is that it's highly polished and it looks great, especially from a distance. See if I can capture, there we go. So it looks pretty awesome, but upon closer scrutiny, you will see what's called cornrows. So I can literally still have scratch marks in the paint, but they're polished. They're very, very reflective, looks very, very shiny, but it's not perfected. So in order to dig those out at 1,000 grit, I'm going to go through way more clear coat than I should, which is why I would never just finish wet sanding with 1,000 grit. It's too coarse for safety, especially on original equipment factory clear coat. So I will go in one more time, apply some more ceramics to the middle of the pad. Let's see what we've got. Let's see what we've got now. Okay, looks better, but still not perfect. So let me disrobe. Let me disrobe this for you, so we can really capture . I'm going to spray some water on here. Ceramics is water-based, so literally when you introduce water, it just dissolves. It's got a surfactant in it. So let's check it out. So there is our clear line of demarcation right there. There is not perfect, but that would be acceptable results to most people that would buy one of these products. They'd be like, okay, that's what I'm looking for. It's like, well, welcome to the world of disappointment. Get used to it. It's this thing called life, especially when you unrealistically think that you're going to be able to use one of those products by hand to remove scratches. And by the way, if you think that 1,000 grit sanding marks are unrealistic on my part, most scratches that people are going to attempt to remove on their car, I can virtually promise you are going to be deeper than 1,000 grit. So once again, I picked 1,000 grit for a few specific reasons. Always check the links below. It will take you to one of my websites where I wax longer and stronger on any given topic that we have covered in today's video. Okay, don't forget to give it a thumbs up on the way out. We'll see you on the next video.